Hola y bienvenidos a Smart Business Language Consultancy. Soy Fabiola y esta es la introducción al podcast para los primeros niveles que necesitan inicialmente un alcance en español como guía para beneficiarse de los audios que presentaremos aquí. Ahora, si ya has escuchado varios de nuestros podcasts, sabrás que escucharás extractos de lecturas de novelas, cuentos o relatos famosos en inglés y algunos comentarios sobre ellos. Si eres nuevo en esta sección, te deseo una calurosa bienvenida y espero que ahí sigas viniendo, escuchando y comentando junto con todos nosotros y, por supuesto, haciéndonos recomendaciones o pedidos de otras obras. También espero que esta introducción te haya parecido amena y útil. Y si quieres más información para aprender, chequea nuestros videos tutoriales y lecciones o postea alguna pregunta o comentario. Gracias por compartir tu tiempo con nosotros y te invitamos a escuchar el siguiente audio. Enjoy! The Wave by Morton Rue. Level 2 Penguin Readers. Hi, welcome to our podcast section. Today with a reader I chose for its interesting topic. It's from Penguin Readers, Level 2, and it's called The Wave, written by Morton Rue. You're going to hear me read some excerpts, that is, parts of a book, and then I will comment on them. You're invited to leave a comment yourself about what you heard and your opinion on the topic. You can always recommend extra material to supplement this topic so that other readers will benefit from it. Underneath, you'll find interesting supporting material to better understand the wave. You must be asking yourself why the background music is so dark, so sad. Well, this is a true story and not a very happy one. What is a wave? Why is it called like that? The following excerpts will try to define it. The things in the wave really happened in America, in a school in Palo Alto, California. Palo Alto is about 50 kilometers south of San Francisco. In 1969, a history teacher called Ron Jones started a wave in one of his lessons. He wanted to teach his students about the Nazis in World War II. He wanted them to understand what happened to people in Germany at that time. But something strange happened to their students. Ron Jones later wrote a short story about the wave. There was also a 1-hour television film. Morton Rue wrote his book called The Wave in 1981. The names in the book have been changed, presumably to protect the real people. Ben Ross taught history at Gordon High School. One afternoon he showed a film about Hitler and the Nazis. At the end of the film he told his students, "The Nazis killed more than 10 million men, women and children." "I know many of you are very sad," Ben told the students, "but I want you to think about what you saw. Does anybody have any questions?" "Were all the Germans Nazis?" Amy asked. "No, most Germans were not Nazis." "Did the German people try to stop them?" she asked. "No, most Germans didn't try to stop the Nazis," Ben told her. "Perhaps they were afraid of them." "But why were they afraid?" Ben was happy that his students were interested. They were not usually interested in history. Ben told Laurie, "And we don't know why most German people did not try to stop the Nazis." "How many people did the Nazis kill?" Laurie asked her teacher. "They killed more than 6 million Jews and about 4 million others." "But why did they kill them? Were all the Nazis bad people?" "I don't know, Laurie," said Mr. Ross. "I can't answer that question." "What's wrong?" Davy asked. "That film, David," Laurie answered. "I thought it was very sad." "Do you think it was sad?" "Yes, but those things happened a long time ago," said David. "You can't change what happened then." "But we mustn't forget that it did happen," Laurie said. That afternoon Ben Ross bought some books about the Nazis. They were for his history class. He wanted his students to understand about life in Germany at the time of the Nazis. I don't think they can learn the answer from a book, but I have a plan. The next morning, Ben went to class early. When the students arrived, they saw some words at the front of the room. Winners need discipline. Ben walked over and stood next to David and Brian. You two both play football. You know you need discipline to win. We never win, Eric said, and the class laughed. Perhaps that's because you don't have any discipline, Ben said. The students were all quiet now. Ben surprised to see that they were interested. He took his chair and put it at the front of the room. Discipline starts with how you sit. I don't want you to sit back in your chairs. You must sit up. Amy, come up here. Brad, Mr. Ross said, who was the leader of the Nazis. Brad stood up slowly and stood next to his desk. Mr. Ross, I think it was Adolf Hitler. You're too slow, Brad, Mr. Ross said. I want everybody to give me their answers quickly. Now, Brad, try again. Brad chimed up next to his place. Mr. Ross, it was Hitler. Mr. Ross smiled. That's better, he said. Later that night, Ben talked to his wife about his students. Usually, they don't do anything I tell them, he said, but they love the new discipline. I was very surprised. Perhaps they thought it was a game, said Christy, and they all wanted to be the best in class. I think that's true, Ben told his wife, but the strangest thing was that they wanted me to discipline them. At the end of the lesson, they stayed in their places. It was more than a game to them. The next day, Ben arrived late for his lesson. When he came into the room, his students stood up. Ben was surprised. He looked round the room. Robert jumped up next to his desk. Mr. Ross, discipline. Yeah, discipline, said Mr. Ross. But there's something more. He went back to the front and wrote, We are all the same team, next to winners need discipline. Mr. Ross turned back to the class. Everybody must believe in these words, he said. Now I want us to say them together. Round the room, students jumped up and said, We're all in the same team. Winners need discipline. This is a wave. A wave is something that is always moving. We'll call our team the Wave. Mr. Ross looked around the class. He saw that the students wanted to hear more about the wave. This will be our salute, he said. Ben put his right hand up and moved it up and down. Class, give our salute, he said. That evening, Laurie told her mother and father about her history lesson. Mrs. Saunders looked at her daughter. I don't think I like it, Laurie. But we're learning discipline, Mom, and how to work together. You don't understand, ma'am, said Laurie. Mr. Ross is showing us something important, and we're not forgetting about history. We're doing more homework now. David and Laurie walked to school together the next day. We need a way for our football team, David said. My mother doesn't like it, said Laurie. What does she know? Said David. Only the Wave members understand the Wave. Mr. Ross walked around the class and gave each student a yellow card. Each card had a picture of a wave on it. Under the picture of the wave were the words, Member of the Wave. So now we're a team. You must always work together. You must never work against any other Wave member. Do you understand? Mr. Ross, yes, said the class. Now you go and look for new members, said Mr. Ross. But every new member must understand our rules. Suddenly, Robert stood up. Mr. Ross, I think the wave is great. Then Amy stood up. Mr. Ross, Robert is right. I feel the same. Ben looked at his students in surprise. He saw that the wave was not a game to them. They were the wave now. Students at Gordon High loved the wave. Every day there were more new members. All around the school there were wave pictures. Students gave the wave salute when they met. Ben Ross was very surprised. And my history students are working very well, he told Christy. I hear the football team are all members now, said Christy. Do you think that the wave is good for the students? Are they learning anything? Christy, the wave experiment, said Ben. There was no discipline in the school before I started it. Now I tell the students to do something and they do it. I think this new discipline is good for them. On the way to Principal Owen's office, Ben met many students. They all gave him the wave salute. Tell me what this wave thing is about, Ben, he said. Everybody in the school is talking about it. I don't like these wave salutes and wave pictures, said Principal Owens. It's all a game, said Ben. Principal Owens looked at Ben. Then he said, I'm not very happy about this thing, Ben. You must watch it very carefully. Remember that these are young people in your experiment. Sometimes we forget that they are young. David, I don't like what's happening with the wave. I don't like what it's doing to this school. Now David was very angry. The wave is doing great things for Gordon High, he said. Now everybody's on the same team. Perhaps that's why you don't like it. Laurie went to see Amy. She showed her a story about the wave in the grapevine. You can't say these things about the wave, Laurie, she said. The wave is doing very bad things to this school. Read what it says in our story. I believe in the wave, said Amy. I believe that we're all team, and I want us to work together. You don't like it because you think you're better than us. Ben Ross read Laurie's story about the wave in the grapevine. He was very surprised. I don't like this, he said. Something's going wrong. I never wanted the students to fight about the wave. I'm hearing bad things too, Ben, said Christy. Many of the other teachers don't like your experiment. David Collins read The Grapevine with his friends. His face was sad. I don't understand, Laurie. Why does she write these things about the wave? He asked. Robert stood next to David. He was very angry. They aren't true, he said. Somebody must stop her writing about us. We can't stop Laurie writing about us, David said. We can show everybody that she's wrong. We can show people all the good things about the wave. Dave, Laurie's trying to stop the wave, said Brian. You must talk to her. She'll listen to you. Ben, we must talk about this wave thing, said Christy. I know. They don't understand the wave, Ben answered. Do you understand it, Ben? His wife asked. Do you know what you're doing? Because nobody in the school thinks you do. I know that, Ben answered. They think I want to be a little Hitler. Perhaps they're right, said Christy. This experiment is doing something to you, and I don't like it. You must end the wave, Ben. Ben jumped up. No, I won't do that. I can't do that, he told his wife. I'm their teacher. These students are learning the most important lesson in their lives. Laurie turned her head and saw David behind her. Wait for me, Laurie, said David. I want to talk to you. It's very important. Laurie stopped. I told you I don't want to be a member. This is not a game. David was very angry now. He put his hand on Laurie's arm. I want you to stop writing about the wave, Laurie, he said. No, I will write about the wave, Laurie said. The school needs to know. And you can't stop me. We can't stop you, and we will. Laurie turned to leave. David put his hand on her arm. Get your hands off me, David. I don't like the wave, and I don't like you. Laurie tried to push David away. David was very angry and pushed Laurie over. Oh, no, Laurie. Are you okay? Laurie, I'm sorry. Why did I do that? Laurie, I'm sorry. I have something to tell you about the wave, Mr. Ross told his history students the next day. At 5 o'clock today, there will be a rally. It will be for wave members only. The wave is not an experiment in your history lesson, said Mr. Ross. It's much more than that. All across the country, there are now wave members. The wave is getting bigger and bigger. Now listen carefully, said Mr. Ross. This afternoon, we will see our leader on television. He's gonna start the wave in every school in America. I don't know why I believed in it, said David. And I don't understand why the others believe in it now. Perhaps we're wrong about the wave. No, David, we're right, said Laurie. Then why do others not see it? I don't know, said Laurie. They don't want to listen. Perhaps they're afraid. There were more than 200 students in the room. At the front, there were 2 televisions. Above, there were the wave pictures. We're all in the same team. Winners need discipline, they all said together. In a minute, our leader will speak, said Mr. Ross. Robert, turn on the television, Suddenly, there was the same picture on the two televisions. "There is your leader." "But it's Adolf Hitler," said one of the students. "How can Hitler be the leader of the wave? That photo is from the film we saw in Mr. Ross's history lesson. The film about the Nazis," said Laurie. "Now listen carefully," said Ben. "There is no wave outside this school. There is no great leader." Ben pointed to the picture of Hitler. "Men like Hitler lead things like the wave. You all thought you were better than the other students. The Nazis thought they were better than the Jews." Ben stopped and looked down at the students. "I'm so sorry that I started this. I didn't want to be your Hitler. But that's what happened, and I'm very sorry. Perhaps we all learned something from the wave." So this was the wave. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's your task. Answer the question I posed at the beginning in your own words. What is the wave? Leave your answer underneath with your comments and questions if you have them. And if you'd like to download this podcast and get the script and glossary, subscribe to Smart Business Language Consultancy for material and updates. That was all for now. Until next time.